When people ask me what I do for a living, I often reply, government software. It's simple, it's straight to the point, and most people really don't care what I do anyhow, do they? But if somebody probes and they ask and they seem interested, I tell them what I really believe the truth to be, or at least what I hope it is. That I work with government agencies from coast to coast. I help them improve their business processes. We help streamline communications, and we make a difference. I believe that. And most of my friends, when I tell them that, they just look at me with a blank stare, because they don't know what goes on behind the scenes, do they? They don't understand all the work and all the effort it takes to make things more efficient in government processes. But you do. You guys make a huge difference in what you do, and I admire you for that. Accela Automation, the platform, it's the vehicle that I use every day to make that difference. And I'm thankful for that. I'm happy to do that. I've been working in the Accela community for over 8 years, have seen tremendous growth, and am happy to be here to talk for a few minutes about a slightly different aspect. You know, here at Accela Engage, we have ample opportunity to look at the development of the product itself. What's coming down the pike? What new advancements are we about to see? And those are exciting. I look forward to it. I relish in it. I love seeing my friends and my colleagues. But I want to talk about how really the progression of that Accela platform, how it's enabled us to talk about streamlining our processes, having a smarter and more efficient way to bring to bear a great platform and a great product. So best practice templates and agile methodologies are truly right here today, and it's something that we really need to be talking about as we consider the product itself and the direction we're going. The tools we have to work with today are outstanding. They're industry leading. They're cutting edge. I think unless we've had our eyes and our ears closed all week, we're very aware of what we have right there at our fingertips. But something maybe that we haven't paid quite as much attention to are the teams and the people and the progression of our knowledge base and our expertise that stands behind all that. I've worked with so many fantastically sharp and talented individuals, and their collective experience out there has really made it possible for us today to make a huge difference to things like your ROI, to the stability of the solution that you're looking at. With the tools and the teams that we've matured today, we have more flexibility in the methodologies, and that's where I want to spend a few minutes talking about the methodologies that are now available to us to take advantage of. To not reflect back on the Accela platform would be missing a crucial point in the conversation. The applications that we have for mobile devices that are so streamlined and efficient that we can use from an iPhone, an iPad, or an Android, they're tremendous. They make our businesses much more simple. The data conversion tool sets that we use, we've been using in the field for a long time now, and we're working on improving and making even those difficult to perform tasks simpler and more efficient as well. And I can't remember the last time we did an integration or did an implementation that didn't have at least one, if not more, integrations in it. Whether we're doing EDR, EDMS, financial systems, they're commonplace today. And Accela has a very open architecture and API solution that allows us to create really an enterprise hub. It's a hub that, for many of you, it becomes really the common component of your day-to-day business. Ad hoc reporting that really is taking what was once just an IT function and allowing us to put that back into the hands of people who understand the business needs that we need to solve. Import-export tool sets and really best practice templates. I want to step back here before I talk about best practice templates and agile approaches and talk about the foundation. Accela implementation methodology, it really has been around for at least 8 years. I was part of some refinement of that process way back when with colleagues. And that Accela implementation methodology, it's our foundation, it's the footprints, it's a linear, it's a waterfall progression that takes us from the inception of a project, right? Nearly everybody here is familiar with this. It takes you from beginning of a project all the way through to go live. It tells us what steps need to be in place for us to have a successful implementation. It tells us what order they should come in. It helps us have a roadmap from where we are today to where we want to go. And that's such an important piece of defining a successful project, is laying out your goals and your expectations and having a roadmap to follow. So the waterfall approach is what most all of us have used in the past. How many people here have implemented a new system in the last year and come live on Accela? How many in 2 years? 3 years ago? 4? 5? 8 or more? Yeah, there's a great deal of experience in the room, and many of us implemented a system quite a few years ago. And that's what we would be familiar with, right? A very linear progression. Just because that's what you experienced years ago doesn't mean that's what you have to experience the next time you're ready to bring online a new business process or a new department. Or if you're here for the first time and you're looking at a brand new Accela implementation, we have some more advanced options at our disposal. Doesn't mean you have to choose those, but you need to understand and be aware that they exist. So, best practice templates. I know I was part of discussions 8 years ago that said these were important components and we needed to be able to develop templates from which we could begin our implementations. Have a foundation, have a starting point, have a common known starting point. And when we had those discussions, I think we were a little ahead of ourselves. We weren't really sure quite how to put them together back then. But the maturation of the product, I think, and I really believe, is what made that happen. Having all of those tool sets at our hands really made the difference. But even more than that, I know for a fact that Accela brought some of their best solutions in out of the field that have been deployed into production, and they put their sharpest and brightest minds together around the table, and they critiqued it, they evaluated those solutions, and they came up with what truly were very good solutions and met at least that 80-20% rule. At least 80 to 90% of all the business functionality that most everybody out here would need to implement any Accela process are contained within one of those business best practice templates. Sure, you might want to extend some of the functionality, you might want to tweak some of it, but it's still a great starting point, no matter what size of an agency you are. Whether you're a very small agency with an extremely limited budget, and you're really needing to look at the time it takes to get from kickoff to go live, or whether you're a huge agency that has an enormous budget and you want to be able to customize and streamline and tweak and adjust everything. It's still a really good place to start because it tells you where people who have been, or agencies who have been successful have been before. It should be considered in any implementation, whether you're looking at waterfall or even if we're talking about agile. And today we are there. You know, over 75% of the software development community out there today uses an agile implementation approach. There's no secret why. The waterfall approach is very linear, and it doesn't have a lot of flexibility, and that may be okay for a lot of people, and it might be smart to have limited flexibility. You need to understand what your own agency demands look like. But if your agency is looking for a very integrated, customized, advanced, cutting-edge, dynamic solution, and you also maybe have a lot of variables that you have to consider. Expenses, maybe a shortcoming in clear definitions of what your ultimate goals look like, but you know you need to get underway with the project, but you have some concern that along the way those goals might change a little bit or they may need to be refined, and you're looking for expert guidance to get that done, an agile methodology just might be right for you. Because agile methodology, and without going into all the underlying details of what's entailed, it really takes that overall project and it breaks it down into much smaller components. These scrums, these smaller components, come in cycles. And really, if you look at the essence of each cycle, they're designed to describe what the next steps are, get in there, get immersed with a dedicated team who's committed to the same solution, and then work hard towards that end and meet those goals, finishing it up and wrapping it up with the evaluation, the review, and the testing of that final result of that short session. This is a great way to go about implementation because we take a few steps. Instead of trying to eat the whole elephant at once, we take it bite by bite. So it gives us the chance to go in, perform a couple of cycles, step back, and then also not just evaluate the final product that we're looking at, but evaluate how we went about the process. Is it working for us? Are we headed in the right direction? Are we taking too long? Are we making decisions together? The Agile methodology is a wonderful strategy to be able to use in software development. And really, it's crossing over into services and IT, even into marketing and other areas today. So is streamlining and implementation, is it relevant today? Not only is it relevant, I would say it's very important to make part of your decision points, part of the conversation when you're looking at a brand new project, when you're looking at bringing online a new department, new division, or even just a couple of new business processes for an existing department. Usually I have a great deal of time to work with my teams. I work in the field, I roll up my sleeves and I do analysis and configuration. I absolutely enjoy working side by side with my customers and looking at what we could do to make their business processes better. But I also oversee and manage teams, and I get a thrill out of looking at how do we go about delivering the best solution we could possibly deliver. And so not only is it important for us to look at the technology and the business solutions from the day-to-day perspective, but also maybe a bigger, broader view. And how does this impact our agency? So here are a few, I think, that stand out. When we look at BPT and we look at starting from a known point, a tried and true methodology, we see shorter development cycles. We see reduced investments. We can capitalize on those well understood solutions and then customize or tailor them to our needs. And there's no compromise on the platform. I think that's pretty unique, right? It's the same Ferrari engine underneath, whether you're going out and you're building a huge enterprise solution or you're just bringing on a smaller implementation starting with a couple of different departments. It's the same engine underneath. Agile, shorter development cycles, increased immersions, knowledge transfer, and customer ownership of solution. I love the last one. I think there's a direct correlation out there today between all the projects that I've either worked on personally or overseen. The correlation between how much ownership did the customer take, how involved were the stakeholders, and what was their satisfaction level. The two are very closely tied. So there's a whole host of questions. I don't have enough time today to share all of them with you, but I wanted to at least point out that these are the types of questions, these are the types of strategies of implementation that we should be looking at. I want to take a little bit different path here. I want to introduce Derek Williamson up here from the City of Menifee. Thanks, Derek. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Derek is the senior IT person at the City of Menifee, and from what I understand, that means you do everything. Everything, right? Hardware, software, it's everything, all encompassing.
Yes.
Great. You just went live?
February 10th.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job. I think Derek has a really compelling story, and I want you to share some of that with us. So tell us, when you set about to make a decision on the product and the solution, you chose best practice templates, right?
Correct.
And why?
There was actually two reasons. First and foremost was, as we're all familiar with, cost. We had to keep costs down as much as possible. And then a second reason that was almost as important was our timeline. We had a drop-dead date of the end of February to get this live, and we had project kickoff in September. So we had a 6-month timeline to go from basically having 3 departments that did what they wanted, when they wanted. 2 of them were in Excel spreadsheets, planning and engineering, and building used software. We had to get all 3 of them talking to each other, figuring out their processes, and then get that into Accela automation within 6 months.
You had very clearly defined parameters that you had to meet, right, and goals. So starting out with best practice templates, What did that process look like? What was the experience there in working with those?
Well, one of the best experiences that I found was we're a new city. We're only 6 years old, coming up here in October. So you have a lot of individuals from a lot of different agencies that came in with their ideas of how things should be and trying to put those all together. So each department had, for lack of a better word, a hodgepodge of different ways of doing things. The best practices templates require them to sit down, evaluate their process, compare it to what the industry currently uses or what Accela has found to be successful, and kind of gauge what they're doing off of that and start to build an actual process that we could move forward with combined as an entity.
I'm thankful for that because, again, 8 years ago, it wasn't uncommon to have an agency say, we know what we do, stay out of our business, we'll tell you what we want, just do it, right? And today it's a completely different mindset. It's how can we share information with each other? How can we learn from each other's experiences? And that best practice template really puts validity behind that.
Yes.
Good. At the end of the day, when you implemented the best practice templates, did you take them straight out of the box and did you put them into play? How much tweaking or adjustments did you really do with those?
There was actually very little tweaking and adjustments, and that was more based on the timeline than based on just the fact that they didn't want to. It did take some doing. As we all know, the process is actually the easy part to change. It's the mindset of the people doing the process that takes a little more time. So getting the stakeholders to buy into this is a better way of doing things, and like I was talking to you earlier, the Excel spreadsheet example for engineering department, it was very simple for them to go into the Excel spreadsheet, put in their information, and they're done. That's all they had to do. Now it's a little more involved as far as getting the projects in, but then when they need to get the information out, the analytics, and figuring out exactly what the city's doing as a whole, we get that information now, whereas before it wasn't readily available.
Amazing. So at the end of the day, you got your project done inside of its projected time frame.
Correct.
And I believe the window was really, really close. You really had about 2 weeks to spare. So you actually came in just a little ahead of schedule, giving yourself a couple of extra options in case you needed them, right?
Yeah, we actually set the go live date. The drop deadline was our building software. They were being shut off at the end of February. It was a hosted solution. So being shut off means we do not have access to that data. And so that end of February was our drop dead date. So we moved our go live date up 2 weeks just to kind of give us a buffer. We honestly didn't need it. On February 10th, we went live, and we haven't had to look back since.
And one final question. You're live today. Do you have immediate plans for some enhancements, some tweaking and adjusting here in the near future?
Yeah, actually, we are currently bringing GIS in-house, so we're going to start looking into the GIS integration. Electronic document submission is another one that we are looking at. Now, these things are probably 6 months to a year out before we really start researching them, because we're still in the process of trying to get the mindset changed within the city, still trying to figure out the software.
That's an ongoing challenge sometimes. I
yes,
completely get it. Derek, thank you for just a few minutes of your time.
Pleasure.
And
pleasure.
Thanks for letting us work with you. We enjoyed it. Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you.
I just quickly. Anybody in the audience who knows and works with me knows that I could continue on. I'll ignore all breaks that were scheduled, and I always go overtime. I'm overtime now. I just want to say thanks for letting me introduce this topic to you. There's so much more to talk about. Put it right up there at the top of the list when you're looking at the product solutions you need. Also consider the implementation processes. BPTs will add stability to your solution, and truly the bottom line business ROI, they are measurable, they're tangible. Enjoy your conference. Thank you.